Imagine this. There's a little girl inside of you. She's bold, curious, full of light. She laughs loudly. She dances without rhythm. She trusts her heart completely. But somewhere along the way, life told her to be quiet. Maybe she was criticized. Maybe she was ignored. Maybe she was told she wasn't enough, or that she was too much. And so she hid. She put away her joy, her softness, her magic. Now here you are, grown, accomplished, strong. But sometimes you feel that tug, that quiet ache inside, like something is missing. You've built a life, maybe even a successful one, but there's a part of you that feels disconnected, almost like you're wearing someone else's skin. What if I told you that the missing piece isn't about what you need to achieve next or what mountain you still need to climb? It's about returning to that little girl you left behind. Because until you go back and heal her wounds, you'll never fully unleash the essence of who you are as a woman. This isn't about weakness. This is about unlocking the kind of power that doesn't come from force, control, or perfection, but from wholeness, from reclaiming the very energy that makes you magnetic, intuitive, and unstoppable. And I promise you this, the day you choose to face her, to see her, to love her, is the day you stop living half a life. When we talk about the wounded inner girl, we are not talking about something abstract or distant. She is you. She is the version of you that existed long before you learned how to filter yourself, before you learned to wear masks to fit in, before you built the armor that got you through life. And the truth is, so many of us are walking through adulthood carrying a child inside who never really healed. She is frozen in time, still holding on to the pain, confusion, and disappointment she experienced. Maybe she remembers being told she wasn't good enough. Maybe she remembers someone rolling their eyes when she spoke up with excitement. Maybe she remembers needing affection and not getting it. Maybe she remembers moments where she was made to feel too much, too loud, too needy, or too different. Those moments may have seemed small to others, but to her they felt massive. They shaped how she saw herself and how she believed the world would treat her. And because no one taught us how to process those wounds when we were little, we carried them forward. They became silent beliefs etched into our nervous system. They became the whispers in our head that say, don't be too loud, you'll embarrass yourself. Don't get too close. People always leave. Don't trust your voice. Someone smarter will come along. Don't dream too big. It won't happen anyway. These aren't just passing thoughts. They're echoes of that inner girl calling out for healing. What happens over time is that you build a life around those wounds without even realizing it. You work extra hard to prove you're worthy because deep down, you're trying to earn the love you didn't get when you needed it most. You shrink yourself in relationships, afraid that if you show up fully, you'll be rejected just like before. You put others first again and again because the little girl inside of you learned that love had to be earned, that approval was conditional. And while you might be incredibly strong and successful on the surface, underneath there is a part of you that never feels quite safe, never feels fully seen. That wounded inner girl shows up in ways that can be hard to admit. She's the reason you might overthink every decision, second-guessing yourself, because once upon a time, someone made you feel like your choices didn't matter. She's the reason you might stay silent when you want to speak, because she remembers the sting of being laughed at or dismissed. She's the reason you might chase achievements relentlessly, because she still believes her worth is tied to performance. And she's the reason you sometimes feel restless, disconnected, or unfulfilled, even when everything on paper looks like it should make you happy. Here's the truth. The wounded inner girl doesn't go away just because you grow older. You can build a career, raise a family, buy the house, do all the things society calls success, but she will still live within you, waiting for you to acknowledge her. She doesn't need more accomplishments. She doesn't need you to be perfect. She needs you to listen. She needs you to look at her and say, I see you. I hear you. You are enough. Healing begins the moment you stop running from her. It begins the moment you stop numbing her voice with busyness, with overachieving, with distractions. It begins the moment you decide to turn inward and meet her where she is. That's not easy work. It requires courage to revisit memories you've buried, to admit to yourself that the strong, capable adult you are today is still carrying around the hurt of a child who just wanted to be loved, accepted, and safe. But when you do, something shifts. Instead of being ruled by unconscious wounds, you start to reclaim your freedom. You begin to notice the patterns you've been repeating. You begin to see how that inner girl has been guiding your choices in love, in work, in friendships. And with that awareness, you gain the power to choose differently. You no longer have to let her wounds dictate your future. You can honor her story, give her compassion, and begin to rewrite the beliefs that once held you hostage. This is not about blaming the people who hurt you. It's about taking ownership of your healing now. It's about recognizing that no matter what happened to you, the responsibility to heal belongs to you. Not because it was your fault, but because your life is too precious to live, bound by old pain. Your inner girl deserves freedom, and so do you. Think about it like this. Imagine a child you love deep, a niece, a daughter, a little sister. If she came to you in tears, carrying the weight of rejection or shame, you wouldn't tell her to toughen up or get over it. You would hold her. You would tell her she's beautiful, that she's safe, that she is loved, just as she is. That's exactly how you must begin to treat your inner girl. With tenderness, with patience, with compassion. And when you do, something powerful happens. You stop hustling for worthiness because you realize you've always been worthy. You stop silencing your voice because you remember that your voice matters. You stop hiding your light because you understand it was never meant to be dim. Healing your wounded inner girl is not about changing who you are. It's about returning to who you were before the world told you otherwise. She is waiting for you. She's not gone. She's still inside, hoping for the day you'll finally choose to see her, hear her, and bring her home. And the moment you do, you don't just heal her, you free yourself. You open the door to a version of yourself that is radiant, whole, and deeply alive. The armor you wear is the version of you the world sees, the version you built to survive. At first, it doesn't feel like armor. It feels like protection. It feels like strength. It feels like the only way you could make it through. When you were hurt, overlooked, or made to feel like you weren't enough, you built layers around yourself. You toughened up. You became the achiever, the perfectionist, the caretaker, the one who could never be knocked down. And for a time, it worked. That armor carried you through storms that might have broken you otherwise. It gave you a way to keep moving forward when you were in pain. It helped you hide the tender parts of yourself that felt too vulnerable to show the world. But here's what no one tells you about armor. The same walls that keep hurt out also keep love, joy, and connection out. The same barriers that once kept you safe eventually become a cage. And slowly the very thing you thought was protecting you is the thing that is holding you back. Think about the roles you've taken on in life. Maybe you became the overachiever, the one who had to be the best, because somewhere along the way you learned that your value came from what you accomplished. So you push harder and harder, collecting achievements, degrees, promotions, but never quite feeling satisfied. That's armor. Or maybe you became the people pleaser, always saying yes, always keeping the peace, always putting others first, because your inner girl once believed love was conditional. So now you bend until you break, and while everyone else sees you as kind and dependable, inside you feel drained and invisible. That's armor. Or maybe you chose detachment, independence, and self-reliance. You decided you don't need anyone because relying on others once led to disappointment. On the surface, that looks like strength, but underneath it can feel lonely. That too is armor. The problem with armor is that it convinces you it is your identity. You begin to believe you are the overachiever or the pleaser or the strong, independent woman who never lets her guard down. You forget that those roles are strategies, not your essence. You forget that beneath all those layers, there is a different kind of strength, a feminine power that doesn't need to perform, prove, or protect itself constantly. And because the armor worked for so long, it feels terrifying to take it off. What if someone sees the real me? What if they reject me? What if I get hurt again? Those questions keep you clinging to the walls you built, even when those walls start to suffocate you. You tell yourself that being soft is weak. You tell yourself that rest is lazy. You tell yourself that vulnerability is dangerous. And in doing so, you bury the most magnetic parts of who you are, your softness, your intuition, your creativity, your ability to receive and not just give. Here's the truth, the armor was never wrong. It served its purpose, it helped you when you needed it, but it is not meant to be worn forever. Armor is for survival, not for thriving. You cannot step into your fullest, most radiant feminine essence if you are still living as though you're in battle. Because when you're armored up, you can't fully feel. And when you can't fully feel, you can't fully live. Imagine going through life always braced for impact. That's what armor does. It keeps you tense, alert, guarded, and while it may have saved you from pain once, it also keeps you from fully experiencing love, intimacy, joy, and freedom. You can't embrace someone fully when your arms are weighed down with shields. You can't dance freely when you're carrying heavy gear. You can't open yourself to possibility when you're always on defense. Taking off the armor doesn't mean you'll never get hurt again. It doesn't mean life will suddenly be easy, but it does mean you'll be living from a place of truth, not fear. It means you'll be moving from authenticity instead of performance. It means you'll finally give yourself permission to be who you actually are, not who you had to be to survive. The process of removing this armor starts with awareness. Ask yourself, what do I do to keep myself safe? Do I hide my emotions? Do I overcompensate with success? Do I keep people at a distance? Then ask, what is it costing me? Am I missing out on connection? Am I denying myself joy? Am I exhausting myself trying to keep it all together? Those questions cut to the heart of whether the armor is serving you now or whether it has become your prison. Once you see your armor, the next step is courage. Courage to let someone in, even if it feels risky. Courage to rest, even if your mind screams that you'll fall behind. Courage to say no when you want to, even if people don't like it. Courage to be soft, even when the world tells you to be hard. Every time you choose authenticity over protection, a piece of the armor falls away. And here's the most important thing. The moment you take off that armor, you don't become weak. You don't lose strength. What you lose is heaviness. What you lose is exhaustion. What you lose is the constant fight to prove yourself. In return, you gain energy, radiance, freedom. You gain the ability to love without fear, to connect without masks, to live without constantly performing. That's not weakness, that's power. The armor you wear is not your enemy, it was your ally once. But if you want to step into your true essence, if you want to feel alive instead of just surviving, you must thank the armor and then release it. Because the woman you are becoming doesn't need to be protected the way the little girl did. She needs to be expressed, she needs to be free, and she cannot breathe under all that metal. Your feminine essence is waiting for you to put the shield down, to let the world see the real you, to let yourself see the real you. And when you do, you'll realize the greatest strength was never in the armor. It was in your ability to take it off. Strength is a word that gets thrown around so much, yet so often it's misunderstood. For most of us, the world taught us that strength means toughness. It means holding it together no matter what. It means showing no cracks, no softness, no emotion. It means being the one who never falters, the one who never lets anyone see her bleed. That's the definition we were handed. Strength as hardness, as resilience, as grit, at all costs. And because we wanted to be respected, because we wanted to be safe, we picked up that definition and carried it with us. We wore it like a badge of honor. But here's the problem. When you live by that definition, you eventually discover that it isn't real strength at all. It's survival, it's endurance, it's suppression. Real strength doesn't come from denying who you are. Real strength doesn't come from living in constant battle mode. Real strength is when you can live your truth without apology. Real strength is when you can be fully yourself, feminine, emotional, intuitive, radiant, without fear of being diminished. Think about it this way. Anyone can build walls. Anyone can shut down, harden, and cut themselves off from feeling. That's not difficult, that's reflex. The human body and mind are designed to protect you when you're in danger. What's difficult is the opposite. Keeping your heart open when life has given you every reason to close it. Letting yourself feel deeply when you've been told that emotions are a weakness. Allowing yourself to receive love when your instinct is to push it away. That's strength. That's courage. For so long, women have been told that to be powerful, we must act like men, adopt masculine traits, outwork everyone, prove ourselves again and again. And yes, we can do it. We've shown that we can climb ladders, break barriers, run businesses, and succeed in arenas that once shut us out. But let's be honest. Many of us got there by suppressing our feminine essence. We toughened up, we buried our softness, we turned off our intuition because we thought it made us vulnerable. But here's the truth. Your softness is not weakness. Your intuition is not fragility. Your ability to nurture, to create, to feel deeply, to connect, that is power. That is a strength that no one else can replicate because it is uniquely yours. Strength has to be redefined not as how much you can carry, but how free you can be. Not as how much you can endure, but how much you can let go. Not as how stoic you can appear, but how authentic you can live. Because what good is it to carry the world on your shoulders if it crushes the joy right out of you? What good is it to be the strongest one in the room if you can't feel at home in your own skin? True strength is wholeness. It is integrating the wounded parts of yourself and bringing them into the light. It is saying, yes, I've been hurt. Yes, I've been knocked down. But those experiences don't define me. They deepen me. Strength is not pretending you have no scars. Strength is showing that you are still radiant with the scars. Strength is not perfection. It's authenticity. And there's another layer to this. Strength is also receptivity. Think about how much courage it takes to receive love, to receive help, to receive pleasure, to receive abundance. For many women, receiving feels scarier than giving because giving feels safe. Giving puts you in control. Receiving requires trust. Receiving requires vulnerability. And yet, the feminine essence thrives on receptivity. It's magnetic. It draws in rather than chases. It allows life to flow rather than forcing it. That kind of openness, that kind of surrender, is a form of strength that most people will never understand. Redefining strength also means redefining the relationship between power and presence. Power isn't just about dominating, achieving, or controlling. It's about how deeply you can connect with yourself, with others, with the moment you're in. Feminine power is magnetic, not forceful. It pulls people in, not because you demand their attention, but because you radiate something undeniable. And you can only radiate that when you're living from your essence, not your armor. So what does this look like in real life? It looks like choosing to say no when your boundaries are being crossed, even if it disappoints someone. It looks like resting when you're exhausted, even if the world glorifies busyness. It looks like speaking your truth, even if your voice shakes. It looks like letting yourself cry, laugh, dance, and love without apology. These are not signs of weakness. These are signs of immense strength, because they require you to be real in a world that constantly pressures you to be something else. When you heal your inner girl and release the armor, you begin to feel this shift. You stop measuring strength by how much pain you can carry in silence. You start measuring it by how much joy you allow yourself to experience. You stop seeing softness as a liability. You start seeing it as the most profound expression of courage. And you begin to realize that your feminine essence, the part of you that feels, flows, creates, nurtures, is not something to hide. It is the foundation of your power. This isn't about abandoning resilience, grit, or determination. Those qualities will always be part of you, but they are not the whole picture. Real strength is having access to your full self, the part of you that can stand tall in the face of adversity, and the part of you that can melt into love without fear. Real strength is flexibility. It's knowing when to push and when to surrender, when to fight and when to flow. It's the ability to adapt without losing yourself. So when you think about strength, I want you to ask yourself, whose definition am I living by? Is it one I inherited, one that keeps me in battle mode, one that requires me to cut off pieces of myself just to be accepted? Or is it one that honors all of me? My resilience, my vulnerability, my softness, my fire, my heart. Because the moment you redefine strength for yourself, you stop playing by rules that were never written for you. You begin to embody a new kind of power, one that doesn't just impress the world but fulfills your soul. And that is the kind of strength that transforms everything. That is the kind of strength that not only heals you but inspires others. Because when people see a woman living in her full essence, soft and powerful, grounded and radiant, they're reminded of what is possible for themselves. Your redefined strength becomes permission for others to do the same. Healing is not just a concept, it is a practice. It's not something that happens because you read the right book or hear the right words. Healing is something you live, something you embody, something you choose again and again until the wounds of your inner girl are no longer running the show. And while it can feel overwhelming to know where to begin, the truth is, healing doesn't start with grand gestures. It starts with the smallest acts of awareness and compassion. It starts with choosing to turn inward instead of away. The first practice is learning to reparent yourself. Think of that little girl inside of you. She is still there holding the hurts of the past. She's waiting for someone to tell her she is safe, loved, and enough. And who better than you? This means speaking to yourself in ways you may never have heard growing up. It means telling yourself, you are safe with me. You don't need to prove anything, I will take care of you. It might feel strange at first, even silly, but the words you never received are the ones your inner girl has been waiting for. Each time you affirm her, you begin to rewire the story. Another powerful practice is journaling, not as a productivity tool, but as a way to give voice to your inner. Write letters to her. Ask her what she needs. Ask her what she fears. Ask her what she always wished someone had said to her. Then respond from the adult you are today. Let her know she is heard. The act of putting pen to paper bypasses the noise of your mind and allows truths to rise up that you didn't even know you were carrying. In those pages, you create space for her to speak and for you to listen. Healing also requires creating environments where your nervous system feels safe. If you are constantly in spaces where you are judged, dismissed, or drained, your inner girl will stay on edge, waiting for the next wound. Safety is not just about physical protection. It's about emotional sanctuary. Surround yourself with people who celebrate your presence, not just your performance. Choose environments where your authenticity is not only accepted, but welcomed. Safety is the soil where your feminine essence can begin to bloom. Reclaiming joy is another essential practice. Many of us silenced our playfulness when we were told to grow up, act mature, or stop being silly. But joy is not frivolous. Joy is medicine. Ask yourself, what did I love doing as a little girl before anyone told me it was silly or unimportant? Was it dancing, painting, singing, writing stories, running barefoot in the grass? Go do that again. Give yourself permission to be playful without purpose. When you reconnect with joy, you reconnect with your essence. You remind your inner girl that life is not just about surviving. It is about experiencing wonder. Movement is another way to unlock healing. Trauma and suppression don't just live in your mind. They live in your body. That's why dance, stretching, yoga, or even simply shaking out your body can feel so freeing. Let your body move without judgment, without choreography, without rules. Let your body release what your mind has been holding. When you allow movement, you give your inner girl permission to feel alive again. Another practice is learning the art of self-compassion. We are so quick to offer kindness to others, but when it comes to ourselves, we can be our harshest critics. Your inner girl doesn't need another voice telling her she's not enough. She already heard that too many times. She needs you to be gentle. When you make mistakes, instead of punishing yourself, try speaking as you would to a child you love. It's okay, you're learning, you're doing your best. That voice of compassion begins to replace the critical voices of the past. Breathwork and mindfulness can also be powerful tools. Taking a few minutes each day to breathe deeply, to slow down, to notice what you're feeling in the present moment helps you regulate your body and reconnect with yourself. When you practice stillness, you send your inner girl the message that she doesn't need to rush, she doesn't need to hide, she is safe to simply be. And healing isn't only about what you do alone. It can also mean allowing yourself to seek support through therapy, coaching, or trusted relationships. For many, the most radical act of healing is to admit, I don't have to do this by myself. That in itself is a direct way of telling your inner girl she doesn't have to carry the weight of the world alone anymore. But perhaps the most transformative practice of all is rewriting your story. The past cannot be changed, but the meaning you give it can. Instead of seeing yourself as the victim of what happened, you begin to see yourself as the survivor, the one who endured, the one who now chooses a different path. Every time you retell your story with compassion instead of shame, you give your inner girl freedom. She no longer has to live trapped in old memories. She gets to grow with you. Healing is not a one-time event. It's not linear. Some days you will feel like you've made huge progress, and other days old wounds may resurface. That doesn't mean you've failed. It means you are human. Healing is a spiral. You revisit the same places, but each time with more wisdom, more awareness, more love. Every step, no matter how small, is movement toward wholeness. And as you keep practicing, something incredible happens. The fear that once ruled you begins to loosen its grip. The old voices that told you to shrink grow quieter. You begin to feel lighter, freer, more authentic. You begin to notice moments of joy, moments of peace, moments where you feel fully alive. That's your inner girl beginning to trust you again. That's your feminine essence starting to flow. Healing is not about becoming someone new. It's about returning to the truth of who you've always been. It's about peeling away the layers of hurt, fear, and armor until what remains is radiant, whole, and unapologetically you. Your inner girl is waiting, not for someone else to save her, but for you to show up for her. And when you do, when you consistently practice meeting her with love, you unlock a kind of power that no wound can ever take away. When your inner girl finally feels safe, something extraordinary begins to happen. It is subtle at first, almost like a quiet stirring, but it grows stronger the more you honor her. That guardedness that once weighed you down begins to loosen. The constant need to prove yourself starts to fade. The fear of being seen, of being too much or not enough, begins to dissolve. And what emerges is something you may not have felt in years or perhaps ever, your feminine essence. Your feminine essence is not a role you play. It's not about looking a certain way or fitting into someone else's idea of womanhood. It is an energy, a presence, a way of moving through the world that is magnetic, radiant, and deeply alive. When you release it, you no longer walk through life, armored and disconnected. Instead, you move with flow. You attract instead of chase. You embody instead of perform. And the people around you can feel it even if they can't put it into words. The release of feminine essence begins with softness. Not weakness, but softness as power. Imagine water. It is gentle, fluid, yielding, and yet water shapes mountains, carves valleys, sustains life. That is the power of softness. When you allow yourself to soften, you stop fighting everything and start moving with life. You allow joy to seep in where pain once sat. You allow love to flow where fear once blocked it. You become receptive to possibility instead of constantly bracing for impact. Releasing your feminine essence also means reclaiming your right to feel. For too long, you may have been told to hide your emotions, to keep them under control, to toughen up, but your emotions are not a burden. They are a compass. They tell you when something is right for you and when it isn't. They show you where you are aligned and where you are betraying yourself. When you give yourself permission to feel fully, you stop living numb and start living real. That emotional depth becomes part of your magnetism. People feel drawn to someone who is unapologetically alive. Another part of feminine essence is creativity. And creativity doesn't just mean painting a picture or writing a poem. Creativity is a way of seeing the world. It is the spark that says, what if? It is the ability to birth ideas, solutions, connections. It is the force that turns ordinary moments into sacred experiences. When your inner girl heals, she gives you back your imagination. She reminds you how to play, how to experiment, how to create beauty just for the sake of it. And when you live from that place, life itself begins to feel more expansive, more colorful, more abundant. There is also an undeniable presence that comes with feminine essence. When you are no longer hiding or performing, when you are comfortable in your own skin, people can feel it. You don't have to demand attention. It naturally comes to you, not because you are trying to impress, but because authenticity is magnetic. You become the kind of person who walks into a room and shifts the energy without saying a word. That presence is not something you fake. It's what happens when you are fully aligned with yourself. Releasing your feminine essence also opens you to intimacy, not just romantic intimacy, but intimacy with life itself. You begin to allow yourself to be touched by beauty, by love, by connection. You are no longer closed off or bracing for disappointment. Instead, you let yourself receive. You let yourself be held. You let yourself be supported. And in that vulnerability, you discover a kind of strength that is deeper than anything the armor ever gave you. The more you release your essence, the more you discover that life was never meant to be a constant fight. It was meant to be experienced. It was meant to be felt, savored, enjoyed. You stop living in survival mode and begin to live in creation mode. You are no longer running from pain. You are moving toward possibility, and that shift changes everything. Your relationships deepen, your work feels more aligned, your body feels more alive, your spirit feels free. And let's be clear, releasing your feminine essence is not about making yourself smaller or dependent. It's the opposite. It's about stepping into your fullness. It's about no longer dimming your light to make others comfortable. It's about knowing that your power is not in how much you can hustle or control, but in how fully you can embody the truth of who you are. Feminine essence is not passive, it is active, radiant, and transformative. But it requires trust. Trust in yourself. Trust in life. Trust that you are safe to be who you are without constantly performing or protecting. And that trust grows every time you honor your inner girl. Every time you listen to her instead of silencing her. Every time you choose softness over armor, truth over performance, presence over perfection. The release of feminine essence is not a one-time moment. It's a way of living. Some days you may feel it flowing easily. Other days you may feel yourself slipping back into old patterns of protection. That's normal. What matters is that you keep coming back. You keep choosing openness. You keep choosing authenticity. You keep choosing to honor the girl inside you who just wanted to be free. And when you do, you begin to radiate something that cannot be faked or manufactured. It is the kind of energy that makes people stop and notice, not because of how you look or what you achieve, but because of how you are. It's the glow of someone who is whole. It's the presence of someone who has stopped fighting herself. It's the freedom of someone who has come home to her essence. That is the foundation of true power. That is the life your inner girl was always longing for. And that is what becomes possible when you finally give her the love and safety she needed all along. The release of feminine essence is not just healing, it is liberation. It is the return to yourself. It is the reminder that you were never broken, only hidden. And now, piece by piece, you are stepping into the fullness of who you were always meant to be. And now we arrive at the heart of it. You've walked with me through the journey of meeting your inner girl, facing her wounds, understanding the armor you built, redefining what strength really means, practicing healing, and finally releasing your feminine essence. But here's the truth. None of this matters if you only hear these words and don't act on them. Your inner girl has been waiting for years, maybe decades, for you to come back for her. She is still there asking, will you finally see me? Will you finally love me? Will you finally let me be free? The answer to that question determines the kind of life you will live from this day forward. Because you can keep surviving, you can keep wearing the armor, you can keep hustling to prove yourself, and you will make it through. But surviving is not the same as living, and you are not put on this earth just to survive. You were put here to be whole, to be radiant, to embody your essence fully and unapologetically. The strongest thing you will ever do is not build walls, but break them down. The bravest thing you will ever do is not keep fighting, but finally surrender to your truth. The most powerful thing you will ever do is not prove your worth, but remember it. So here's the choice before you. Keep carrying the old story that was never yours to begin with, or write a new one where your inner girl is healed, your essence is free, and your life reflects who you really are. If you choose healing, if you choose softness, if you choose authenticity, then everything shifts. Your relationships change, your energy changes, the way you move through the world changes. Because when a woman returns to herself, when she releases her feminine essence, she doesn't just transform her own life. She transforms every space she walks into. She reminds others of what is possible. So my message to you is simple. Go back for her, heal her, love her, set her free. Because when you do, you will finally see that the life you've been chasing has been waiting for you all along inside of you. This is your time to stop surviving. This is your time to start living. This is your time to come home to yourself.